Hey everyone, and welcome to a new episode of He's Not Wrong. I'm your host, Chad D, and I'm going to keep this introduction short because we have a lot of ground to cover in today's episode, and we just need to get right on into it. This week, I have a congressional candidate, Elizabeth Dempsey Beggs, on the podcast. Elizabeth is running for Congress in Virginia's 1st Congressional District, and she's a working mom, a veteran, and a progressive candidate fighting to bring real solutions to the United States House of Representatives that benefit everyone. One thing that I touch on in our conversation and what I find absolutely fascinating is that when you look at her service to our country and how she treats the employees that she manages, you get a clear picture of who she is. Her character is always on display, it always has been, and you get to see a glimpse of how she would govern and fight for her constituents. Elizabeth is friends with Dylan Blaha, who was on the podcast a few episodes back, if you remember. And these two are the kind of candidates that I've genuinely have been enjoying platforming on He's Not Wrong, because candidates like Dylan and Elizabeth are fighting to bring power back to the people where it belongs. So I'm excited for you to hear my conversation with Elizabeth. And so with that, I give you congressional candidate Elizabeth Dempsey Beggs. Elizabeth Dempsey Beggs, thank you so much for joining us on He's Not Wrong today. We are so grateful to have you. How's the campaign going over there in Virginia?
Yeah. The campaign is exhausting in the best way possible. I actually had someone ask me that this morning, and I said, it's kind of like having a newborn. You are exhausted and overwhelmed, but overjoyed. And it's just the best type of exhaustion. The saying, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, is the perfect way to sum up a grassroots campaign.
I get it. I ran for city council in Montgomery years ago. And then right before that, I worked on Mallory Hagan's congressional campaign, and I followed her to every single stop that she went to. And it's an exhaustion that you just cannot relate to anything else. It's painful, it hurts, it's tiring, but it's at the end of the day when you're trying to like unwind and unpack what's happened, it's like the exhaustion is so worth it for the work that you're doing and the people that you're fighting for. So thank you for that. Happy to hear that it's going well.
My job right now, besides like the business aspect of running campaigns, especially grassroots, like payroll and that stuff, is the overwhelming majority is to talk to people, to go knock on their door and ask them, what do you need better? What do you need changed? How can I help? And sometimes it's not just as trying to be representative, it's saying, I know there's these community resources available. Let me make sure you're connected with the right person. It's heartbreaking sometimes to hear people's story, and we don't check whether it's left or right when we're making these calls and all this, but it's being able to just be, my job is to be connected in my community, something I've always enjoyed doing. And now it's what I get to do for hours every day.
What's the one thing that you're hearing most from your constituents when you're knocking on doors and you're meeting with them? What's the one concern that you're hearing over and over again?
Number one is the rise of fascism and authoritarianism. And I'm getting that every door I'm knocking on. People, even if they voted for it, are concerned, are recognizing this is a dangerous path we're going down, but feel like there was no other option. And I always ask the follow-up, okay, in another world, we fixed it. We've flipped the seats at midterm. We've stopped the bleeding. What is your concern? You're not in the immediate. What is your selfish? Because so often people say, well, what would be best for everybody? I'm like, no, don't tell me what would be best for everybody. That's my job to figure out. Like, be selfish. What do you need? And the top three, we always look at affordability, but overarching that, we're looking at economic growth opportunities, at healthcare access, and at education.
That is so interesting to me that the rise of fascism is the one thing that people are concerned about, solely because I feel like several months ago it was affordability. And when I'm talking to candidates and even here in Alabama, it's increasingly that's becoming the thing that everyone's concerned about. And so as awful as things are right now, it really gives me hope that people are waking up just to how serious this is. And it's happening at the right time. So glad people aren't waking up a month before the election. Like, they're waking up at the right time. There's enough time to continue to educate, to get them on our side, and to allow other campaigns across the country to be as effective as they possibly can be at that time. So that is fascinating to me.
Yeah, I agree. It's terrifying, but hopeful that people are saying, whoa, this is not what any of us signed up for. This is not what we want. This is concerning on so many levels. And then we get into immigration and ICE and all of the other things that really are affecting people's everyday lives and just not the society that they're wanting, especially
Yeah.
when I talk to parents in the world they want for their children.
Your campaign is grassroots. You're saying no to corporate money. I admire that, number one. And before I pressed record, we talked a little bit about how I've become more radical against corporate money. And I'm going to speak to that in a minute. But I just want to know, being people powered, being a grassroots campaign, say no to corporate money, does that present new challenges to your campaign? Or does it almost give you a freedom that you might not have as much money as someone else who is, but you have a level of freedom that resonates with more people? If that makes
That's a really
sense.
good question. That's a good question because the answer is both. Of course, we're going to have other challenges. The reality is, I am not going to out fundraise a few other people in the primary. I mean, we have a primary candidate here who took $1 million from Dominion Power, even though they just raised our power bill 15%. My power bill for my family's home was $800 this last month.
Oh
So
my
no,
God.
I'm not going to touch that. That does have some challenges, absolutely. But we find creative ways around that. Running for office should be hard, but the hurdles that corporate money puts in place should not be one of those things that make it challenging. What should be hard is knocking on the doors, having the conversations with people, having to critically think, keep a level head. That stuff should all be hard, should not be easy for the barriers we put in place. The flip side of that, though, is I don't know if I can cuss on here, so I'm going to catch myself.
You can.
Quick.
Yeah, for sure. You
I
can.
am not tied to anything. Cool. I'm allowed to say fuck ICE because I am not
Mhm.
tied to a single donor, whether it be a person, right? I don't even have huge, large donors. I mean, you would say, yes, I've had two of what are considered large donors. It was my dad and my stepmom. So outside of my family, there's no big donors I'm tied to. There's no special interest groups, no foreign money. I am able to speak freely and to truly represent the people of my district. And that's what this job is. I'm not here to represent corporations. God knows they don't need more representation in office. I'm here to represent the people. And by saying no to that money, and I had people in the beginning be like, that's a bad move. This is expensive. And yes, running a campaign, they're kind of like weddings. As soon as like, you want to book a room for a family reunion and you get quoted $1,000 and as soon as you use the wedding word, all of a sudden it's 10,000. That's how anything political is. But I had people say like, it's not going to be possible. Like, take the money and then go in and make the change. Push for campaign finance reform, push to ban congressional stock trading. And I said, absolutely not. If it cost me the campaign, it cost me the campaign. And maybe we at least made some headway for someone else to go in and make the change or for me to run again and make the change. But I'm not going to be a hypocrite and sit here and take the money just being like, well, I'm just, taking it on the nose so that I can go and make the change. Absolutely not. I'm accountable to the people of my district. And that's exactly the only people I should be held accountable to.
I'm going to touch on that power bill in a minute because that is what radicalized me. And we're going to go down that rabbit hole in a second. But I'm curious, and I don't mean this to be like a stupid question, but in Alabama, for Democrats to win, we have to switch about 15% of Republican voters, like registered Democrats. The numbers are not there in Alabama for a Democrat to win. So there almost has to be this like centrist message that's, I don't want to say dumbed down, but almost dumbed down to reach people who have only heard about the Republican supermajority messaging for 30 plus years. Like you have to do it. How's the breakup of your district is and in Virginia? Is it a bit more competitive in that aspect of the fact that Republicans and Democrats is almost competitive and how many people are registered, or do you have to flip certain Republican votes in order
I will
to
have to
get the
flip
seat?
a decent amount. This is the year
Okay.
it's going to happen. In District 1, Rob Whitman has held the seat for 20 years. It hasn't been flipped despite multiple efforts. And we are considered one of, if not the number one most at-risk seat for Republicans right now. So this is an incredibly important race, whether you live in my district or not. And with that being said, though, this is the year it's going to happen. And we do have the best numbers going into this that we've seen. We've probably had more registered Democrats move into the district. They're turning out to vote more. And Republicans are staying home more, is what part of this is. Now, with that being said, I cannot take, you asked me before we hit record about Abigail Spanberger. It would be idiotic for anybody to look at Abigail Spanberger's performance in any district, county, anything, and think that is going to translate into midterms. Abigail Spanberger is one of the best candidates the Democratic Party has ever ran. And Winston Sears was one of the worst that the Republican Party has ever ran. So we had very high turnout for Democrats and very, very low turnout for Republicans. So we can't look at my district and say, well, okay, all these delegates flipped, all these people voted for Abigail. That's not going to translate into this race. But we are looking at being an R+3, where 2 years ago we were an R13. So it's very doable. Now, when it comes to the messaging, the last thing that is going to take any red voters is a career politician, an attorney who's been doing this for years, who is just fall in line, everything, blue no matter who, whatever the Democratic Party says goes. That is not going to flip any votes. Any of these corporate Democrats who take all this money, are established in here, they're not going to have the time of day to even knock on the door. And that's a lot of what we're doing in this race, is knocking on red doors, is calling red phone numbers. Virginia has open primaries, so a registered Republican can vote for me in our primaries. And a lot of that is, hey, even if you end up voting for Whitman, don't feel like you're picking between the worst, two bad options.
Yeah.
And that's how so many people feel, because we've the same playbook. I'm saying, if you want true representation, primaries is what matters. Grassroots movements are what matters so much more. I'm going to be honest, like this race, whoever takes this primary seat, which I hope it's me, and it's going to be Whitman running, there's so much money that will be funneled into this. We're on record to be $100 million race when all is said and done, including primaries, including that. What matters is donating in primaries, is knocking doors in primaries, so that people have actual representation, not just a party pick saying, okay, this is who we're setting up to run, because that doesn't represent anybody. And as someone who is more progressive, and in a lot of my policies, a lot more progressive, that actually lines up a lot more with our red voters. When we talk about banning congressional stock trading, we talk about campaign finance reform, when we talk about who's affected by Medicare, when we talk about, I have a very diverse district. So we have not quite like full city, but very, very suburban. We're almost in the heart of Richmond. We have a lot of military families, we have coastal communities, and we have a large rural area. And so often the Democratic Party has only focused on a few of these little counties in the suburban area where it's pretty blue and pretty wealthy blue, and just ignored all of our red voters.
Yeah.
And we have some people in these primaries saying, like, I don't even need any red votes. Yeah, we do. But even if it wasn't that to flip the seat, morally, I have an obligation to be a representative. I'm not going to Congress as Elizabeth. I'm going to Congress. Why holding my values? Why knowing it's best? Why pushing for democracy? But I have a obligation and a duty to be a representative for all the people in my district.
Yeah.
All of this has to be so much bigger than red versus blue. And that's a lot of that messaging is, hey, like, let's actually talk about these policies, not viral rhetoric, not throwing hate. Let me come into your door. And luckily, being a foster parent, a Sunday school teacher, a veteran, an MBA, I have the ability to get indoors, get a seat at the table where, some people might traditionally not. And that allows me to have these conversations, say, hey, like, we agree 90% of the way. We're both tired of the same thing. We both know that there's a better option here. It's probably about 5% that we differ on. And let's talk about, let me hear your side of this and hear my side of it. And let's come together and like recognize this is for something way more important than, these just viral moments.
God, that is so important. The fact that you're able to get in the door with these people and to point out that, hey, we agree 90% of the time. Like, have you ever realized that conversation is so important? And that leads into what radicalized me. You said your power bill is almost $800. I swear I have a point with this, but several months ago, well, actually a year ago, I had a power bill in a 1-bed, 1-bath apartment here in Birmingham, Alabama. My power bill was over $500. I was like, what the hell? And so that started my learning journey of figuring out why is that possible? Why is that allowed? I took to TikTok on the podcast account. I talked about it, and thousands of people flocked to my videos and were commenting their power bills. They have been drained financially to our monopoly utility company, Alabama Power, but they
So I
felt
deal
like
with
their
Alabama
voices.
Power. I have a 1 bed, 1 bath condo in Alabama.
Okay, so you get it. Where's it at?
Mm-hmm. Lake Martin.
Okay, love Lake Martin. I got both my degrees from Auburn University. But all
Yeah.
that being
Yeah, we
said,
I was stationed down there.
awesome. Okay, next time you come down, you're gonna have to let me know. But um, all that being said, they feel like their voices have fallen on deaf ears. And they finally saw
Mm-hmm.
an influencer type, someone who had a platform that was speaking about what it is that they were feeling. And they took to the comment section. And from that point on, other influencers started talking about it. Hundreds of thousands of views per each influencer's video, and the comment section are just people posting their bills. And so we took that
Mm-hmm.
as an opportunity to start talking about the Public Service Commission, how important it is that you elect a public service commission that's going to hold utilities accountable, right? So we're doing education on that. So last week, Alabama Power felt so threatened. They felt so threatened. They went to the Democrats and Republicans that they have donated money to, and they put forth a bill in the Senate last Thursday saying, hey, this is going to be the last year that you can elect your public service commission. This is last year
And
you
that's the
can
thing. They don't just give money to Democrats or just give money to Republicans.
it's
These are companies who are giving money to anybody they think can get elected. I mean, to anybody, so that they have, they call in that chip. That money doesn't come without anything.
it's
They're gonna call it in and they're gonna say, like, this is what we need. And we can talk about data centers and that stuff too, what's draining. But that's you should be mad. People should be mad and be concerned. And that money they contribute, whether it's Alabama Power, Dominion Power, Georgia Power, and which they're all essentially owned by the same company,
yep.
is your power bill increasing is paying for them to donate millions. I mean, we can talk just in the mid-Atlantic, millions, just in Virginia, tens of millions. Your power bill is paying for them to donate that to political candidates
Yep.
so that then they can continue to re-up their bill. Now, it's not a tax write-off. When you donate to a political candidate, that's not a tax write-off like other things. But they know what that return on investment is. You think they're donating $1 million to one candidate willy-nilly? No, they know exactly that if they donate that $1 million, that they have a policy that they will be implementing, using that person as their champion for it, that their return will be way greater.
It is so disgusting and insane to me that they felt so threatened by people wanting to hold a power company accountable that they proposed a bill, and it's going to pass. It's going to pass with bipartisan support to make it an
Mhm.
appointed position by the governor and I think like the speaker of the house or something. But it's so disgusting because right now public service commission candidates can't get Alabama Power money donated to them. But you know who Alabama Power can donate to? Constitutional offices, the governor, and to state senators. So the people who will be appointing, they can donate directly to them. And it's like Republicans they're impacted by this. They understand it's a problem, and the messaging here is definitely about affordability. But there's a bridge for Democrats and Republicans to come together on this to fight it. And so that's been my door in trying to flip vote, saying, hey, they've held this office for 20 years and your power bill didn't go down, and they're just now speaking about that the appointments are a problem. Like, no, the problem actually goes deeper, and we're in agreement that it's a problem. So just let's switch our vote just this one time, please. But that
But I
radicalized me
want to
with
comment
corporate
something.
money. Yeah.
We could go down the corporate money rabbit hole for days, honestly, nonstop. And it's something I didn't fully realize until I entered this race. Even someone being fairly politically involved. You mentioned two things that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
You said they felt so threatened. And to me, that just speaks the power is with the people. This is the shit we were founded on. This is the reason we are a country, is the power is with the people. And you might feel like your one voice, your one vote, your one $5 contribution to a candidate doesn't mean anything, but it does.
Yep.
It does. We are so powerful when we come together, and we can come together without agreeing on absolutely everything. That's also the key piece in this, right? Dissenting is important, even when you have the same goal, right? So it's not picking each other apart and saying like, which, the Democrats are pretty good at, right? And you're allowed to say like, okay, I don't agree with this person here, there, maybe we see things differently, but we have the same goal here, and it's powerful when we come together here. And the other thing I want to touch on is you said we'll pass with bipartisan support. And I think so often we hear bipartisan and it gives us this morality. Like, oh, it's
Yes.
good, it's bipartisan, so it's moral. And is it times where that is true? Yes. Yes. But it should also raise some flags. They're like, in a world where they're this divided, because the reality is 10 years ago, bipartisan was pretty normal.
Yeah.
Today, though, I mean, you look at Congress, like someone's nothing bipartisan. So when you hear that, though, you're like, okay, why? Is it because this is something that's just really that good? And sometimes the answer is yes. Or is it because it's funded to be that way? And in this case, it's obvious like it's funded to be that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would love to get back to a world where bipartisan support does have some morality to it.
Yeah, me as well. It's because it's so insane that the bipartisan aspect of this is the fact that it's exposing corporate money and influence. They're saying, "Hey, the people are too powerful, so we're literally going to take away your voice and having to say about how much you pay to this corporation, so we can fund bonuses, so you can then pay the taxes that we pass on to your power bill." Like it is so insane to me. So my promise to my audience and to all my future guests that come on here is that the question, are you accepting corporate money? And specifically to Alabama candidates, are you accepting Alabama power money? And if the answer is yes, like He's Not Wrong doesn't support your campaign. Just flat out.
Yeah.
Like it is mind blowing to me. But yes, we could go down this rabbit hole for a long time. But
And I do want to say there is a difference between corporate money and small idealistic PAC money. So you
yes,
have
of
these small
course.
PACs like places like Mother Funders or Common Defense, where being politically engaged is a privilege, especially in today's age and all the information we have thrown at us and how many just crazy factors there are in everything. So, if you're like, hey, I care about this issue, this PAC is champion for it, I'm going to send them $10 a month, and they do the research on what candidates support, what seats are most important, where the biggest impact of my $10 is. Great. That's awesome. I do believe some of that should be capped and stuff as well. So I do always want to make the clarification, like what
Sure.
people mean when they say that and what that is. And there's so much room for dark money. But yeah, we're gonna get all riled up and all mad at the system.
And that's why you're here, because we're changing the system and the way it works. And I'm like genuinely.
All right,
your
we're taking the
campaign,
power back. We're saying no.
and that's
We've been
what.
a victim of the system for so long.
Yes, yes, and your campaign gives me hope that like things are changing and it's fine. It's finally gonna happen. So I want to move on to talking about your service to our country with
Yeah.
your military service. And I've had a few. I've had Josh Sullivan come on. He was an FBI agent. He's taken several oaths as he climbed the ranks at the FBI. Um, I've had Dylan Blaha come on. We talked about his oath to the country. And I want to talk about that with you because I've said it before, I'll say it again. It is so crazy to me that right now we're living in a world where the Constitution isn't some absolute. It's whatever the Constitution means, whatever you want it to mean on any given day with the way things are going right now. But you took an oath to the Constitution. You upheld that oath with your service, and you are continuing to uphold that oath while running for office. What, taking that oath to our country, to the Constitution, upholding it, what does that mean to you and to your campaign?
Absolutely. I mean, it's at the core of what we're doing. So I was 17 years old the first time I took the oath in uniform. Then I took it again at 21 when I commissioned as an armor officer and went on to be a tank commander. My undergraduate studies, though, specialized in constitutional law. So the oath kind of meant something different. And, college is a time for learning, not indoctrination. It's okay to change your mind and get more information. But, and there's always different schools of thoughts, right? On whether it's a staunch document, whether it's a living document, but I'll come back to the same thing. It's just like a slight way of interpreting it.
Sure.
Um, and it's just violated left and right now.
Yes.
I mean, it's just appalling that, and the ability to convince people that it doesn't matter or that it's being followed. And yeah, it matters, but only to this group and only to that group or in this context. No, the Constitution is for everybody and it matters. And it matters deeply. It is the
Mm-hmm.
framework of our nation. It is what prevents us from the rise of authoritarianism, that with checks and balances. It's what allows the people to have a voice. And it's being trampled, whether it's ICE in the street, whether it's just these executive orders that are just so blatant. And then you're like, well, it's, it's illegal. It will like get hung up in court. Yeah, they have been, and then they just don't care what the court's saying. I mean, we've watched this administration stomp all over checks and balances, be told this is unconstitutional. Where are don't tread on me people right now? I mean, we're being told by legal experts, and you have some people who are like, no, I did my own research. Like, I'm sorry, your own research does not make up for 25 years of legal expertise studying the Constitution that you read it. I mean, a lot of it comes down to not investing in education as
Yep.
well. Being able to read words is different than being able to comprehend and apply things into a setting. And I'm sorry, I'm going off a little bit of a tangent,
You're
but
fine. You're
the
fine.
taking the oath, I mean, that's the core of this because that oath did not end when I took off my uniform.
Yep.
That oath is something that I took incredibly serious. And the best way for me to honor it is to continue to fight for the Constitution.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, when you enlist in the military, you take an oath to the president. You take an oath to the Constitution, but to the president, saying that you swear to abide by the orders of the president. Officers do not take that oath. Officers only take an oath to the Constitution and have the obligation of understanding if an order is illegal, immoral, or unethical. So enlisted side, you're supposed to you have a little more like I was just following orders, right? Because you are supposed to have systems in place that stop an order from getting to you if it is unconstitutional. That system in place is the oath that I took. I didn't take it to a party. I didn't take it to a president. I took it to Constitution. I served under red and blue presidents. And I led everybody just the same, with the same respect, the same mission, and the same duty. So it's people like Senator Kelly, like Dylan, like Governor Wes Moore. I was interviewing him before I entered this race, and I asked him, "Hey, I love your book." For one, I mean, I've well before he was in politics, huge fan of Governor Moore. But I asked him, I'm like, if anyone has the right to kind of kick back and just enjoy it, right? I mean, you left a very high-paying job to go serve overseas because you felt a duty to it. Like you've done it. Most people would say like you're good, and you've built a really good life for yourself. I'm like, why essentially blow it up? Because that is what running for office is, and entering this, especially if you do it ethically. Why blow up your life to do this and to serve and take a stand? And he said the same thing I hear over and over. It's, I took an oath, and it's that sense of duty to that oath of you will not let this country fall. I will not let this country fall without a fight. It just looks a little different than it did when I was on a tank.
You said something that was so important that I want to touch on just for a quick second, and that's there's an attack on education and people are just reading
Yes.
words and not comprehending them. And it's something that I think is so important to underscore as candidates who value education and the funding of education, because it seems like for years, the attack on education has been happening for this moment, for people just to blindly trust the government and this administration and doing what they're doing without having to critically think or comprehend what this actually means. So I want to put it out there that it's so important that we actually understand the impact of defunding education and the attack on the Department of Education, what that actually means to our democracy.
Yeah. And I want to caveat some of that
Yeah,
to
go
say
ahead.
this is not an individual. I'm not calling the American population dumb. The American
Yeah.
population is not dumb. There's a difference between intelligence and education, though. And we have been defunding education. You even look at the movement of book bans, and it's your boiling pot theory here, right? Where, okay, I can convince you that we shouldn't have books with the nudity in them in the children's section of the public library. And most rational people are going to agree with you on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you inch farther and farther. And
Yep.
now you're banning 1984. And now you're banning Animal Farm and saying, well, kids don't need to be exposed to that. Kids are being exposed to that on the fucking street right now.
Yeah.
We have men in mass shooting our citizens, and you don't even want them to read a book about it, to understand the history of it.
They're banning Anne Frank's
We're
book.
making them live through this. Exactly. We are making them live through this. Oh my God. Okay. You know what? I feel like I can tell this story publicly now. So that you said Anne Frank. I was getting my hair done. And my hairdresser and I definitely had different political beliefs, but there were some things that we connected on. And I ended up stopped seeing her because this was right before Trump got elected this last time. And she posted that any of the tips that she got were going towards electing Trump. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to see you, right? Like it wasn't even convenient. But the last time I was there, God, what did I say? I said something about Anne Frank. And it was in context. And I mean, this is almost 2 years ago. So I can't remember exactly what it was. It was either about reading or no, it was about historical women figures. And I'm like, yeah, and like Anne Frank. And she's like, who is that? I'm like Anne Frank, the Diary of Anne Frank. And she's like, you're saying that like I'm supposed to know who that is. Like I have no idea who that is. And I'm like, the book, The Diary of Anne Frank. It's her diary. She wrote Nazi Germany, like any of, and she's like, oh, I told you I don't read. Like, that's not a badge of honor, girly. But my caveat to this is that's a humorous one that really highlights a lot of our society. But there's also, I don't have any hate towards her on that. We also have so many demands on people, so much lack of safety net, I want to say, that allows people to be lifelong learners and continue to enjoy reading. I mean, people are trying to survive. And we want to continue to make education less accessible, less affordable, have no quality of it when you're forced to go, right? When you're in public school or homeschooling, and love to touch on that little niche in a second. And then we also have this world where like you are on the hamster wheel nonstop, right? You have 3 kids. You're doing 3 different pickups, trying to have your job, pay your mortgage, see your electric bill increase by 20% month over month. Who am I to tell you to go read a book and critically think about this? You're exhausted. So this isn't on the individual. This is very much on the goal.
Yeah,
this
the
goal
system in
of
place.
Not educating, not critically thinking. I mean, we have to accept that AI is part of that too.
Yeah.
And I mean, I mentioned homeschool, a little caveat there. So I'm a supporter of homeschool. And a lot of people ask me this. I think everyone should have the right to homeschool with accountability in it, right? So many things come to accountability. And I think I have a unique perspective as a foster parent because we can't assume that everybody has the best intentions in mind. And a lot of people don't want to be inconvenienced by the paperwork or the testing of any of that if they choose to homeschool their children. And I get that. And I have friends that homeschool, but you have to look at it from the outskirts. Like if someone was trying to do harm, though, or if someone was trying to do harm, we can't allow it to be a shield. So Virginia, we had, and it's probably going to change, this religious exemption. So if you were homeschooling for religious reasons, like the government could not check in on your child at all, right? It's like that's 18 years that like you can be abusing that child, and oftentimes are. So that has nothing to do with, hey, we're requiring what you teach your kid, or we have to teach them about gender studies and all this. But you have to look at it from the child safety aspect. And as well intended as you may be, recognize that there are malice people out there. And I'm glad that you haven't had to have that experience, but let's listen to the people who have and who do see this dark side of the world that you don't. And I think that's worth a little bit of extra paperwork for you.
For sure. For sure. I want to ask on the homeschool topic for a second, because I understand what you're saying about child safety, accountability, making sure that there's checks and balances in
Mhm.
place to make sure that the child is actually in home being homeschooled for the right reasons, getting a quality education while respecting the family's rights to homeschooling.
Yeah.
But I want to ask, because
I
this
would
is
say
some
it's not even as much about quality education checks, right? It's literally just about the safety checks.
okay. So then, okay, perfect. Keep it on the safety check. I think it is so unsafe that Turning Point USA has an entire homeschooling agenda and program. Where would that fit into this? Like, it's protect the kids, kids are
Yeah.
off limits, but yet they're creating an entire homeschool program starting at kindergarten to indoctrinate them
Mhm.
with their belief system that I think is so detrimental to one's safety. That's genuinely what it comes down to. What do you have to say to that?
Yes, I agree. And I'm going to be honest, as much as I hate that, that is a parent's right.
Mm, yeah,
That is a parent's right. And I hope they learn and I hope that they do better and that they have resources and that children have access. But I mean, the bigger concern, and I would argue it is the safety too, but is okay, is this child being sexually abused at home?
sure, sure.
Is this child being put into a child marriage at 14 and has never met an adult outside of their home to ask for help? Is this child being fed?
Mm,
These things that are a reality. And as much as I'd love to tell you, like, that is the biggest threat. And long term, yeah, the Turning Point stuff is a big threat. Talk about the immediate child welfare.
sure.
Um, and yes, why I don't agree with it. There's a lot. I'm a firm believer in the Constitution, and I believe that is a parent's right. I think it's unfortunate. I would love to see there be more checks in it, but let's flip the other side of that, right? I
Yeah,
mean, let's pretend we live in an alternate universe where all public school curriculum was Turning Point USA based.
yeah.
And we chose to homeschool our children. We can teach them even about January 6th, right? We want to teach them what January 6th actually
Mm,
happened, this insurrection. And we're not legally allowed to. We always have to look at the other side of it too when we're making
sure.
these policies and when we're forming an opinion.
I
It comes back to how I feel as Elizabeth is one thing, but what I do as a legislator is another.
I so appreciate your perspective on that, and for talking about that side to it, because I think there's so much there's a stigma, stereotype about homeschooling, and rarely do you hear politicians or public officials, candidates running for office, um, influencers, people with a platform talking about that side to homeschooling and the need to protect kids from immediate danger. So I appreciate that. And to touch on the Constitution just one more time, with the damage that's been done to our society through the attacks on the Constitution that we're seeing, I'm curious if you believe that trust in our government can be rebuilt for how far we have gone in the attack on our democracy.
That's such a multifaceted question because my answer is yes, but I think everyone should always have a healthy amount of distrust. And I say healthy amount of distrust, right? Like you should question some things, especially if one group has a strong minority. At this point, the group that has a strong majority everywhere is corporations. It's not the right or left, but it's foreign influence in corporations. I think there should always be a healthy amount of questioning. You shouldn't get all your stuff from Fox News. You shouldn't get everything from CNN. You should always be looking at different perspectives. Now, when we talk about overall trust, though, take out that 5% of questioning. It's going to take time.
Yeah.
We are, but it's going to take time. It's only going to be possible if we can turn this around at midterm. If we look at races like mine, and if you're in a safe blue seat, congratulations, keep it safely blue. You need to get involved in races like mine across the country. And there's a couple of them. If you are in a deep, deep red seat, organize in your community, find your blue dots, bring them together. But the media is supporting races like mine. And I say like mine, I'm just the face of this movement. Like I said, there's multiple across the country where we are being able to
Yeah.
flip these seats to stop the bleeding and grow something. And the other side of that is on a national stage. I mean, we've done so much damage with NATO, with our allies. We are a laughing stock nationally. And that's not to say like we weren't under Biden. Yeah, there were concerns. Like, I mean, Biden was too old to be in office.
Yeah.
Great man who did great things, and I don't want to trash his legacy at all, but come on, that was a mistake. It was a big mistake. And but where we are in a national stage, that's going to take a long time to rebuild. And that is us coming together as a nation and saying, enough is enough. We will not let this happen to our country. That's what's going to build retrust on a national stage. Is that, hey, America did what America does. And we fought back, and we fought back hard. And the last point I have to that is you look at so many people's campaign slogans. Even look at Kamala Harris's when she entered the race. I don't know if you remember what it was, and I won't quiz you on it. But I will ask you this. What's like one overarching word for everyone you've interviewed, campaign slogans you've followed?
I mean,
what would be like your one? Hey, this is a common thread.
The common thread is, and even go back to Kamala, the for the people. It's like where we're in this campaign that's a campaign that's people powered, that's focused on the individual.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. So I would give you, there's two, right? There's the people over party, and then building a better future. And this idea that, Kamala's was, we're not going back. Mine is, there's a future worth fighting for. One of my running mates, great guy, he's like, new way forward. And you're thinking, we're not just rebuilding. When we stop this bleeding, we aren't just going back to what it was before. We're not going back to what the Department of Education was before. There's no going back. So let's take this opportunity and let's build something bigger. And when it comes to your primary candidates, you're like, yeah, blue no matter who. Yeah, absolutely. When you're in the general, yeah. I mean, there's some Republicans I do really respect, like Tom Massey. We don't agree on everything. The man loves his people, respects the Constitution. He stood up for it. That is my respect every day of the week.
Yep.
But we look at this, though, it can't just be in these primaries saying, oh, I'm anti-Trump. Yeah, we all are. What are we going to do to rebuild that? What is your plan? What does the future look like to you? Because we are going to stop this bleeding. I have full confidence. I wouldn't have blown my life up if I didn't believe this. I would have just left the country with my family. I have full confidence we will take back the seat of midterms. That's not a perfect, okay, the bleeding stop, it ended, but it's a safeguard. We will get this safeguard in place, and we will move forward, and we will build something else. So when you're looking at primary races, who do you believe is going to build a better future?
Yeah.
Who has a vision that you can get on board with? And who do you believe can actually make it happen? Because someone can put a perfect plan on paper all day, but if they don't have the guts and the ability to bring other people into it and make it happen, be a policy advisor.
Yeah. It's so
Those
valid.
are the questions we have to be asking.
And it's so valid that you say that. In Kamala's book, I don't know if it might be a little too high for the camera. Well, I think it's literally it's right there. Yep, Kamala's book right here. I have a signed one up there.
This is my signed one.
Yes. So in the book, you might remember her saying that. I think it might have been towards the end. She was saying how it's gonna, like, we are going to have to rebuild our democracy. Like, there's so much damage that's been done. If a Democrat wins, God willing, when. So when that happens, it's not going to be business as usual. It's not going to be like the next day after the inauguration that things go back to normal. It's going to take a long time to rebuild the institutions that have been damaged. And I think that is such a perfect point for candidates to make, saying, hey, guess what? It's broken, and this is our opportunity to say we're never going back. This is our chance to fix it and to build a future that is actually equitable and better for everyone. I appreciate you talking about that so much.
Let me put a small caveat on that.
Okay.
When you said equitable, that's what got me. So much of this, we're not rewriting the book. We're not reinventing the wheel. There are a few things we are going back towards, right? You look at the New Deal. What built a great economy was these opportunities. So we're drawing on history. We're not, my generation here that's entering this, and there's a reason why we're kind of tired of people in their 70s running this. Like, you're not building your own future. You're doing this for your ego and to hold the title, right? I get it. You might have kids and grandkids you're passing on to, like, this is my future. This is what I'm living in hopefully the next 90 years, 60 years, not 90. That'd be, I'm good. I don't want to be here 90 more years, but the next 60 years. And what my kids will have and what my great grandchildren will have. That's what I'm building. I am going to be around for it. But we have the knowledge, we have the history, we have the data to know what makes sense. And something else in the VP's book that I want to point out is in the beginning, actually, she talks about the scientific method and how that would do wonders in politics, right? You have this idea that someone runs on the plan, and the plan is the only thing. You can't deviate from the plan. You have to implement the plan. We're rebuilding a country at this point.
Yeah.
This is the great American experiment. So we're going to need a little grace doing it. We're going to have some room to adjust. And that's what we've always had, though. It's not me saying, like, hey, I'm not going to do a good job because I'm figuring it out. No, it's me saying, when politics were boring before, right? And we made these small adjustments. Republicans, Democrats, Independents went in with these ideas that were really the same goal, just slightly different ways how to get there. And we took pieces, we added pieces, and we adjusted. We saw how things played out. We adjusted, just like the scientific method. And that's something that really spoke out to me. It's this idea of retribution politics too. Like, okay, well, this person was in power under this administration and they did this. So we're doing the complete opposite.
Yeah.
We're never going to make progress doing that.
I think about that
We're
all
never
the time.
So at this point, we are. We're rebuilding. We are rebuilding, and it's going to be something really freaking good. But it is going to take drawing on the past, having a vision from the future, and people who are willing to put in this fight. I think a lot people are like, oh, like, you're young to run for office. And I mean, I'll be honest, the first time I ran for office is a federal race. There's some people that don't like that. We are shaking up the status quo. We're not waiting for someone to come save us. We're taking this for ourselves and saying we're done with the bullshit. And that's true. That doesn't mean we're inexperienced. That doesn't mean we don't have the ability to do it. But look at the founding fathers. These weren't multimillionaires in their 60s. These were people who had a vision for what this world could be, even though they disagreed with each other on a lot of things.
Yep.
I think we like to lump them all in together and forget, like, they had internal disagreements on what this thing should look like, and they built the framework of this country. We're not even having to do that. We already have a pretty decent framework. We just need to implement it and rebuild within it.
Wow. I love that. Listen, I remember last year reading an article. It might have been from ABC. I'm not sure the outlet, but I remember reading an article, and it wasn't until recently that I put two and two together that the article was about you. And it was about how there was a manager or a small business owner, but they weren't accepting PTO because there's this belief that when it comes to giving PTO, that there needs to be grace. Other than vacations, that you're saying, like, you have a life, you are important, you have value, you have things you need to take care of. How does that mindset shape how you view, like, an individual when you're running for Congress? Because I have a point to this, and I'll just go ahead and say the point. I think we can look at your military service. We can look at how you treat people as a manager when it comes to PTO, and know how you're going to govern in Congress. So how is that mindset shaping your campaign?
Chad, I am laughing because my campaign manager wants that article taken down so bad. Not it taken down, but it renamed.
Why?
So it's People. So it was from People, and the headline on it, and if you Google me, it's normally on the first page of Google, and it says Gen Z manager denies PTO or explains why she denies PTO. So it's like, it's a clickbait headline, right? And it's just saying, like, oh, I'm always denying PTO. And, it was like the hook in the video, and I'm talking about it. But no, it's the leadership philosophy that when we take care of people, they work hard for us. And I think that extends to the country.
Yeah.
And, my job that I was leading to was also more flexible, right? It was really results driven, not just like time-based driven, which I think you can look at most people's lives, right? Even if they are in a time-based role, like, their overarching life is results driven, not time driven. And my philosophy was always, I don't need to know if you're at the doctor for an hour.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't need to know if while you're out going to see a client, you stop and pick up your prescription. I don't need to know that. Now, I hope you're okay and like you're good, right? If you want to share, awesome. If you're getting the results, why would I care? Right? Why would I dictate? Because life happens to all of us
Yeah.
unexpectedly. We are in car crashes. We have power go out. We have kids get sick, and anyone who's a parent knows that they pick the worst times. But life happens. And if we don't give people time to recover, not just from that event, right? But you're always in survival mode. We're never going to build anything great. It is so short-sighted. And that's what our country needs, right? We look at a lot of European models and how much time off people get. And people say, well, you can't be productive, you can't that, or they point to our GDP. No, our GDP is such an awful measure of a
Yeah.
nation and the quality of living and what it actually produces and creates. Because, I mean, if Elon Musk walked in my office right now, my office would have one of the highest GDPs in the world. And it's not because I have any money. So it's this idea that when we allow people to create, to grow, even when we have affordable healthcare for small business owners, our independent contractors, they have the safety net to create, to grow, to make something great that's not just clocking in 40 hours a week at a corporation. And if that's what you want to do, awesome. That's all part of the American dream is you get to pick that reality. So yes, there is a lot that you can look at on how I led. It's one I want to touch on. You mentioned my military experience in that.
Yeah.
And I was on a call earlier this week when we were talking about paid parental leave and not just paid maternal leave, paid parental leave and my experience in the military with that. And someone asked to the group, not just me, but what would paid parental leave mean to you? And I'm done having children. But to me, I wouldn't feel like a hypocrite. I had great federally mandated, required to take paid leave. And that's, I mean, that's a reason people stay in the military. It's
Yeah.
just for that too. My husband had federally mandated leave, and mandated is a key word there, not just optional, because we know people will then convince you not to take it, say like, oh, like it's available to you, but like you really shouldn't use it. It will look bad. We're going to talk about being pro family and having more babies. I don't know. That might be a good place to start.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just an idea.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you're talking about paid parental leave because the next question that I was going to ask is your military service, managing all of these employees as it relates to the PTO conversation that we just had. How did that impact and inform your child care policy? Because when looking into your campaign a while ago, you were calling for expansion of access to childcare benefits for people,
Yeah.
and you were relating that to economic development, and that is
Yeah.
like what an idea. So I was wondering from your experience how much of that informed your policies like expanding access to childcare.
Yeah. So my childcare bill would be about $6,000 a month. Now I'm a foster parent, so some of that is covered by the county, and then I don't have my older children in full-time care while I'm running the campaign because I don't have an income. But that is so not obtainable for most people.
Yeah.
And we have the data. So for every dollar that we invest in early childhood, so whether that is paid parental leave, whether that is being able to afford to give birth, but really we focus that on universal pre-K, childcare subsidies, and paid parental leave are the three biggest buckets. And that for every dollar that's invested, you get an $8 return on investment over the next 2 decades. So it's not just moral to do these things. It's not just the right thing. It's smart economic policy. You look anywhere else in the world, and this idea of, well, who's going to pay for it? We can't afford it, blah, blah. Oh, we can afford it. You are already paying for it.
Yep.
You're already paying for it with your tax dollars. You're just making sure corporations get bailouts and big cuts. And the CEO can have their fifth yacht in a house on every continent and not worried about childcare. And you know what? Should a CEO make good money? Is that a lot of stress, a lot of pressure? You're responsible for people's jobs. You're a good leader. Yeah. You know, you should make good money. But there's a difference between good money and $100 million bonus.
Yeah.
When people are starving. So my personal experience, I mean, I learned what this really meant, how much parents carry, but it doesn't just mean that parents are the only one that are carrying hard things. And you can see the paid parental leave. I also believe that should be expanded to caring for an elderly parent. That has
Mm,
huge economic benefits and something that's not talked about a lot. Um, and it's does that mean you should pull your full paycheck at the responsibility of your employer for 2 years to care for your parent? No, no, that's not reasonable. But there's very reasonable policies on this
yeah,
where, hey, you can take this time off paid because you have a responsibility to society. We all have a responsibility to society. And it gives the option for, yes, more people can stay in the workforce. Now, I don't, and I say people because this is mom and dads. We know women's career hurts more when they choose to have children. Men's
yeah,
career accelerates. They actually tend to make more than their peers who aren't parents. But this is for anyone. If you want to be a stay-at-home parent, you absolutely should have the ability to do that. And with a village, there should be support systems in place.
yeah,
You should be able to take your child to pre-K 2 or 3 times a week for a couple hours and that not be just so incredibly unattainable.
yeah.
And some people, an older generation will listen and hear, oh, you're choosing like the Harvard of this. That's not what it costs. Like I was able to stay home, so we didn't have childcare. Like you just went to pre-K. And when you show them the actual like dollar amounts, they are blown away. Just absolutely blown away. For economic stability, it's 7% of your family budget should be going towards childcare. Right now, the average family, if you have 2 kids, you're at 35%. That's insane. And it does hurt us economically when we have people just leaving the workforce. Even if a child is school age,
Hmm.
you're just that hours don't line up with that. So there's so many. I mean, we could talk for hours on like the actual policies around this, right? These are big
Sure.
ideals, and people are like, what's your plan? I mean, great. Do you want the data? Do you want the full 2 hour brief on the plan? Because it's multifaceted. It's not just, for me, I believe in childcare subsidies, but I also believe that increasing the tax break, when you have a kid,
Hmm.
um, it's like really low how much you can write off of your childcare bill. You're either a single parent, you have a job, or you're a dual income household. Every cent that you pay into childcare is written off of your federal taxes
Mm.
because you're literally paying that money so you can go to work and pay federal income taxes off of what you earned. Yet you can't write it off. What's allowing you to
E-
even be able to go to work, right?
Exactly.
Um, So that's one part of it. One part, I also just believe in the option to choose into like a stipend that you can spend how you see fit on childcare because, not everyone works a traditional 9 to 5, whether you're a nurse who works overnight. So you're like, great, like if I worked 9 to 5, I'd have subsidized childcare, but that's not possible for me. So I'm shit out of luck. No, maybe it's 500 a month for every kid under the age of 5 in your household that you get. And, you submit the forms and it's a grant and you show this is my childcare. This is why. Great. I mean, how many possibilities would that open for people?
Yeah. Yes. And listen, I
You
got
can't even wrap your mind around how it's open for people. It's incentivizing employers instead of these huge tax break corporate bailouts. The same with like incentivizing them to hire veterans,
hmm
not just hiring parents, right? But saying, hey, if you subsidize childcare, you get this tax break, right? There's so many ways to fund this and to approach it because it's not just one solution. It's small changes here and there that are just small adjustments that really improve people's everyday lives.
I
And you can
received
apply
my
this philosophy into anything we talk about.
yeah, truly. I received my master's in public administration. And so the idea that you have these policies for instance what we're just talking about with childcare subsidies, it's you have these things that are directly tied to economic development. And there's been one side of the aisle that just focuses on spending, that they're just forgetting the nuance of that spending. That yes, you're spending, but it's not spending, it's investing, and it's good
It's
for
investing.
everyone.
There's a strong difference. I always say nobody minds paying their taxes if they are seeing the return on that investment.
Yes.
And when we're funding genocide overseas, when we're funding someone buying their fifth yacht, you're not getting a return on investment
Yes.
at all. at all. But when we are funding really good public education, when we are funding accessible and affordable healthcare, so all these things that we talked about, you're already paying for it.
Yeah.
You're just not getting the benefit of it. And that should piss people off. This isn't about raising taxes. This is about keeping taxes in your community and actually having investment and some benefit from them.
Building sidewalks is economic development. Investing in public parks is economic development. Education, childcare, it's all economic development. And that I'm so grateful that you're helping frame that conversation. And that's why I'm saying
we're not rewriting the book. We know this.
Yeah.
I mean, we have so much data, so much historical data. It's what we've done in the country before. We know the answer.
Yeah.
We just don't do it.
Final two questions. The voters in Virginia's 1st congressional district, they elect you. You walk the halls of Congress day one. What can they expect?
Me to not sleep for a very long time. No. I mean, but it's a big responsibility, right? So day one, there are plans. I think everyone has their dreams of what's going to happen day one. You're one person, it's not flipping a switch, but it is a coalition of us who we know what we're doing when we get there. So day one is attacking congressional stock trading. We talk about Alabama Power. We talk about all these things. We have Whitman in this district who sits on committees where he approved an F-35 program that brings 0 jobs into our district. It's essentially an obsolete program, brought jobs into other districts. And right before doing that, he bought stock in the company that's building these. And it's making tens of thousands of dollars with your tax money. That's insane. So when we talk about affordability and these things that matter, that is a big one, is we have to ban that. Everything else is a Band-Aid. And then we're also looking at, there's some small niche ones when it comes to foster care, these things that can really make a difference. Again, economic investment, working towards investing in clean energy, but biggest is accountability. I mean, accountability for these constitutional violations. Everyone wants to hear impeach Trump. Okay, yeah, of course. But that's just one piece of the puzzle.
Yes,
Trump is essentially a figurehead. He's done a lot of damage, but Trump at this point is a figurehead. We have to go after Hegseth, and we have to go after Kristi Noem and the people supporting it.
Yeah.
The evidence that you are purposely violating the Constitution. Just following orders is not an excuse. But
listen.
So yes, it's day one, but I'm not going to pretend it's going to happen overnight. And then the other one, we talk about medical care. Some people are going to say, I'm not going to stop at anything but universal health care, Medicare for all. That's not going to happen in 2 years. I'm sorry. Again, I'm one person. I don't have a magic wand I can wave to make it happen. Would I love for that to be a possibility, that we have great universal health care? Hell yeah. Am I going to give that to you in 2 years? No, I am not, because I am a realist and I have a duty and an obligation. I have a duty and an obligation to the people in my district to make their lives better every day. So that is capping insurance profits. Insurance used to be nonprofit. They are now, and I'm not going to pretend that I can make them magically nonprofit again, but we can cap them at 30%, and that will make healthcare much more affordable.
We have a congressional candidate.
Why we work towards long-term goal.
There we go. We have a congressional candidate in North Alabama, Dr. Candace Duvial. And she was on the podcast several months ago, and she said exactly what you said. I asked her about her healthcare plan. She was like, I want to level set. We can't do it in 2 years, but my plan lays out how to do it in 6. I'm asking for your vote in 2 years so people can know where I'm at with this and know I have a plan. But she was like, we can't do it in 2 years. And so the fact that you have candidates like yourself who are running on these platforms.
Honesty.
Yes, exactly. And that's what I appreciate so much in this, is you're already being transparent and honest by saying, I'm not making some lame promise that I'm going to fix everything in the first 2 years. No, it's going to take time and it's going to take energy.
Harming the people you say you care about.
Exactly. Yes. And also, I'm happy that you said that you want to hold Kristi Noem accountable, because I just had Suzanne Lambert on the podcast, and we called Kristi Noem MAGA's favorite drag queen. And if we can take down MAGA's favorite drag queen and hold her accountable for all that she's doing, I would be so grateful. So thank you.
I feel like when I'm asked that question, sometimes I even forget that answer because it's just like yeah, duh. Like, duh, right? Like, of course we're doing that. But what's the next step, right? I kind of go to
Yep.
like the
Yep.
rebuilding one. But yes, 100% impeachments are coming.
It's the first step of many more to come. Final question, Elizabeth Dempsey Beggs. What are you not wrong about?
Well, if you ask my daughters, I'm wrong about everything. But something I am not wrong about is, fuck it, we're just gonna go for it.
Do it.
We need politicians who aren't afraid to cuss. Not
There
just
we
like
go.
throwing out random words, right? But like who aren't afraid to fight and recognize this isn't a gentleman's game right now. Can we be civil? Can we be agreeable? Have decorum again? Hell yeah. But right now we have a big fucking fight ahead of us.
Yeah.
And the last thing you need me doing is policing my language while I'm fighting for people.
We need politicians who are not afraid to cuss, because sometimes you need a cuss word to put the extra emphasis and the extra oomph on what the point you're
Just here
trying
and
to get
there, right?
across.
And it's just like get the
Yeah.
message. Talk like a human.
Yes, exactly.
It's not all the time, just F this, F that, but like there is passion behind this and there is a seriousness here.
Yes. Yes, I
And it's
fully
kind of my
support
personal
that.
philosophy on it at home. And, I take a lot of pride in my faith. I very much believe in separation church and state. But my policy at home is time, place, meaning
Yes.
for my children. And I always say I would rather my daughters walk downstairs or like see what each other are wearing when they walk out of the room. So like, wow, you look really fucking beautiful today. Than say, are you sure you want to wear that? You can bless somebody with a cuss word and you can curse somebody with very pretty language.
There we go. I love that.
So we need to have real people in office, I guess is the message of that. And I'm not wrong about that.
There we go.
It's
And you
time for
know
change.
what? You know what? I know you said we need decorum back in politics, but I think they threw out the word policing back in Trump's first term. So you have my blessing. I look forward to hearing everything you say. I'm
Also,
so
Dr.
great.
Pepper is the best soda.
You know what? I'm gonna have to agree
That's
with you
the
on that. You're not wrong.
Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper is the best soda.
Did you hear during the college national championship first off, I'm assuming you're on TikTok and like in tune with what's going on. Did you see the Dr. Pepper jingle from that one content creator? I think her name's Romeo.
No, I didn't see that one.
I'm gonna send it to you. So
I'll have
there's
to
a
see that.
content
That's
that
like
there.
is Dr. Peppers and Gushers. Like if I'm in a gas station, that's what I'm grabbing.
There we go. I love it. Dr. Pepper is my favorite soda. There was a content creator on TikTok. She just like looked like she woke up out of bed. She was like, I just thought of a song for Dr. Pepper, and she just sang a jingle. Dr. Pepper ended up taking it, turning it into a real commercial, paid her for it. It aired during the college national championship football game. So it just really shows that the American dream still is alive and real for those who believe in it.
It is. It is. We can't lose sight of that. It's worth
But
fighting for.
But Elizabeth, I just want to thank you so much for your time, for taking the time and energy away from your campaign to talk with us today. I'm so excited for your campaign. Your message is one that I support. I know all my friends and listeners and family in Virginia, it's a message that they support. And I'm just so grateful that you're in this fight and you're speaking power to truth. And I cannot wait to see how far your campaign goes and anything we can do to help. We're here to support you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for amplifying what's going on in a format people enjoy.
Absolutely.